ISIS supporters say the group's wasting no time closing ranks after their leader was taken out. So what's next? Former CIA Director James Woolsey and former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, both join us now to discuss. Gentlemen, great to have you with us. Thank you.
Good to be with you, Shanna.
Good to be with you, Shanna.
Okay, so this is a quote from a pro-ISIS Telegram channel. They're communicating out there. It says, what the impure crusaders do not understand with regard to the Muslims' creed, especially that of the jihadi fighters, is that jihad in its entirety is not founded on men, but on creed. The Islamic State shall remain. It shall disturb the lives of the infidels and punish the apostates. General, where does this put us in the fight against ISIS?
Look, this was a great operation. It was precise. It had very little collateral damage, and it took out the most wanted man in the world. I think this sends a very strong message to the next leader of ISIS or Al-Qaeda that you may be next. You know, this is not a position that you should be looking forward to, because we are going to come after you. We're going to find you. And with the intelligence community's efforts here probably took years, not just months. They talk about May, but it's probably years that they've been after this guy, trying to find him. They found him, pinpointed him to the point that you could take the risk of launching an operation. I think this sends a very strong message to the terror network. They're not going to die. They're going to come back. But this is a good message based on the fact that we just took out their leader.
And the president came out and spoke to the American people to talk about what had been accomplished in this. And there were immediately critics over what he had to share. Here are some in the media who say the president got this all wrong when talking about how this came about.
It's really unprecedented when you think about how much detail he actually went into. And
are you saying it's irresponsible?
I think it is irresponsible.
He sounded not like a president of the United States. He actually sounded like Saddam Hussein after torturing people, sounded like Muammar Gaddafi after he would torture people.
There's a long trail ahead of him actually finally releasing details, explicit details, some of which sort of echoed, and frankly, the crudeness you would often expect to hear maybe from ISIS.
Director, what do you make of those critiques?
I think they're ridiculous. They started from the proposition that they want to get rid of the president, and they didn't want to wait for an election. And they use every opportunity to come forward with things like that, not just substantive critiques. I mean, there were a lot of us who were not pleased with the president's move on Syria a couple of weeks ago, because it left the Kurds very much unprotected in parts of their deployments. And they were our best friends and best colleagues and fighters for years. So it's not as if one has to sign on to absolutely everything the president says or does, but this was a brilliant move that he pulled off, and the critiques of it here were just ridiculous. They're almost a satire of themselves.
Well, speaking of satire, Saturday Night Live had an ISIS skit going on this weekend. Apparently, as this was playing out, or it had played out and the president was going to announce Sunday morning, we started to get some trickles Saturday night of the breaking news, and we thought it was. In the meantime, this is the skit they were running.
Where are you from, son? New Mexico?
ISIS. Yeah, I was a prisoner in Syria until last week when you freed me. So I just wanted to say thank you for bringing jobs back to ISIS. And I promise that I will make ISIS great again.
Terrific. What a great guy. ISIS is back in a big, big way, folks. And we love that, don't we? Okay.
General Layden, I could never have imagined the timing of what was going on.
These guys are clowns. I mean, that's all they are. They're clowns. Listen, again, this president gave the order and provided our military with everything they needed to pull off probably the most precise operation that I have ever known of, and I spent 13 years in that unit. And I will tell you, this is the most precise operations. The SEALs did a great job in 2011, a great job. Little different situation then. But this was the most precise operation that I have ever seen, and it was because our president got down into the details in terms of which course of action that he was going to accept and instruct them to launch. And I think that he should be credited with this, but you can't expect that to happen because they're never going to give him a credit for anything he's done as the commander-in-chief.
I'd like to hear the president, particularly in light of his disagreements in the past with the intelligence community, I'd like to hear him say something really positive about particularly the CIA, because this was human intelligence acquired under the most extraordinarily difficult circumstances. You're trying to penetrate a terrorist group that's deployed up, along the Turkish border. How in the world do you do that with that kind of precision and trust, make sure that you're not dealing with someone who wants to be a double agent, et cetera? I just really take my hat off to the CIA human intelligence people, and I'm sure there were people from other agencies involved, defense and so forth, too. But the CIA pulled the main strings on human intelligence collection there, and it was brilliant.
We can never move ahead without every single piece of that puzzle together. The intel, the operators who were willing to go in there, and thousands of other people, Kurds who helped track this person, people who are brave enough to get inside and bring this information out.
It's important to remember the pointed end of the spear are those operators on the ground. But the hard work is done by the intelligence community, in this case, particularly the CIA.
Bravo to them. And gentlemen, to you for your service to the country and for being in tonight, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.